What's up, everybody? Welcome to 3VO, where we are all on the same team. I'm one of your hosts today, Brendan.
And I'm the other one, Jordan.
And if you're new here, we're just two big old nerds that absolutely love video games, and we love talking about what we love about them. So if you too are a lover of video games, then you are in the right place. As always, it is time to check in. Jordan, how are you doing?
Woo, we are here. Physically here, mentally yet to be determined.
Great.
No, we're doing good. This different sleep schedule still messes with me on some of this stuff, but overall, we're doing fine. Currently excited because we're gearing up to get into the month of April pretty soon, which is my birthday month. So I'm excited. It's the big 3-6 for me. So really not like the most exciting.
Yeah.
Like birthday,
Sure.
but it is like me kind of exiting the area where I could say, oh, I'm in my mid-30s.
You're still mid.
Yeah, but I'm on
still mid.
Yeah, but I'm in the back end of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the further side.
I understand. You're not in your early 30s.
Yeah.
Like
And
me.
it's exactly. But very excited for it because it's going to be it's going to be a very busy month because the wife also has her birthday at the beginning of the month as well. We're going to be hitting up the Ren Fair.
Yes.
Because I went last year. You didn't get to go with us last year.
I didn't get to go with you, but I did go.
You did go, yes.
Separately.
Yes. It's always a good time. Ren Fair is always a
my
blast.
gosh, yeah.
I really had like a point in time when I was like kind of against it for a while. Mm-hmm. Not like a moral or like ethical way, but just in a like very like in a very like mid-20s pretentious, like it was just so goofy and silly.
Yeah.
Why would you just go somewhere dress up and have fun? Like it was a very like dumb outlook that I had on it.
Yeah.
Now
And then there was a part inside of you that was like
I'm gonna go.
waiting to come burst out. Inside you there are two wolves, and one of them
sitting there at home going, "This is stupid." The other one wants to go just as a pirate. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and going on the week. Apparently, we're going on the weekend that it is like the
pirate weekend.
So
yes,
I've already got an outfit ready. Like I'm so psyched to go. So
I have also been gearing up for Ren Fair.
Yes.
I'm going 2 weekends. I'm very excited. First weekend, we're doing the pub crawl because we saw people doing it last year. And, I mean, I saw the advertisements for it and whatever, and I was like, oh, pub crawl, okay, whatever. You know, if I want to have a couple drinks, I'll just have a couple drinks, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I actually saw the people on the pub crawl, and I was like, that looks like the most fun.
Yeah.
I absolutely must do that. So Garrett and I are going to be hitting up the pub crawl on our first weekend. We're doing it early. So that we can drink and then sober the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because it's like 4 stops. I think it's 4 drinks.
Damn.
That you stop for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they like do stuff in between. There's like, I think performers come up and like interact with the group and stuff.
That's really cool.
And yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. And then the next weekend is Pirate Weekend, which I'm very stoked for. I went out shopping today and got a whole bunch of different stuff. I've been putting like pieces of my costume together. I'm so over the moon. I'm so happy. So ready.
I always feel like, and not like in a bad way for me, but I always feel like the couple times that I have like gone to Ren Fair and like done something of a dress up for it, I always put together an outfit. I'm like, I'm gonna be looking pretty good at this thing. And then I get to Ren Fair and somebody has like put together the most intricate thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm like, oh.
Well, you know, I feel like it's one of those things where you can't aim to like get to that level.
100%.
The first couple of times, it's like the people that you see dressed up like that, dressed to the nines,
Yeah.
have been acquiring pieces for years.
Yeah.
You know, so
You know what I'm the most baffled by? The people who, like, even when it's like 105 degrees at the Ren Fair, still turn up in a full suit of armor.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, plate and metal, head to toe. How are you okay?
they must just be microwaving in there, right?
And just be like, this is my life today. This is it.
I signed up for this, and this is what I'm doing.
It's the first time I went. We went to like we went to one of the jousting tournaments.
Yeah.
And even just those people, I was like, you have to be dying. You have to be dying up there.
Yeah. They must run on a lot of hydration.
Yeah.
And willpower, because that's the only thing that would keep them going. It was the only thing that would keep me going. Yeah, but I am very excited to see the jousting. Go watch the jousting if you haven't. It's awesome.
It's always a good time.
It's so fun.
Always such a good time.
It seems like it would be dull and boring, but it's awesome.
It's really, really cool. It's got a great. It's always like a fun vibe to it, and it's like you could tell that these are all people who like know each other, but there's still like a good competitive spirit to
absolutely.
it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other cool thing for my birthday for April that I'm excited about.
Oh, yeah?
Is that, and this is something that literally only me and one other person in the friend group like gets why this is exciting. My birthday lines up on both days of WrestleMania this year, so it's also what I'll be doing for my birthday. I'm not going to WrestleMania. That would cost me like $2,000.
Jeez, really?
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Here's the thing. So I love WWE, but their shit is expensive. So like, I could get like a nosebleed seat for like $150, but I wouldn't be able to see anything in the actual ring itself. So it's like, I'd rather watch it at home. We had talked about maybe doing like another, because it's in Vegas, and we were like, what if we just went to Vegas, got a hotel, and just watched WrestleMania in Vegas without going to WrestleMania?
That's crazy.
Just as like an excuse, but like it's an excuse to do a
Just
Vegas
as a
trip.
reason to go to Vegas.
Just a reason to go to Vegas, and then we could also watch WrestleMania like while we're there. You know what I mean? But it's also an excuse because like I'm gonna make all my friends come over, and like the ones who haven't watched wrestling are gonna watch some wrestling that day. I'm not gonna like force everyone to sit down and like watch it. Like just a general.
Right. But there will be wrestling.
There will be wrestling on.
Can I dress up?
Of course you can.
I don't know what I'd wear.
Of course you can. I thought about it, but I was like, I'm not gonna try to make everybody dress up as like become as like wrestler attire.
I think you should.
Because I'm not gonna do it. and if I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna make anybody else do it.
I still think you should. I think it'd be funny.
I think it would be funny. I'll put it out there that if people want to come, if this is like whatever, especially for the people I know like you who haven't watched wrestling, I'm like, what do you think this looks like?
Oh, I will do no research. I will only put together what I think, my preconceived notions of wrestling, and then go from there.
Okay.
See what happens.
I'm gonna put this out there to the group then, because my stepsister is gonna be coming too, and if I put that to her and her friend group, they'll definitely come out.
Okay, I've got it, Jordan. Here's what you do. So, and we're figuring this out live on the pod. So,
So now I have to do it.
You do have to do it, yeah. So just get a list of the names of the wrestlers together. Don't read ahead. Go with me. You just get a prepared list of like pick the best ones, like the 20 or so best names that really give you something, and throw that to the group and say, this is the list. Don't research them. You come dressed as how you think this wrestler looks. And that's the prompt.
That's such a good idea. That's such an incredible fucking idea.
I was kind of whatever. Now I'm very into it.
No, that's an amazing. Okay, no, I'm gonna pitch that. I'm gonna be like, hey, here's an idea. Obviously, you don't have to do this, but this would be really fun for people to do.
That seems like a TikTok trend, you know? Like
it really does. It really does. I gave my friends a wrestler's name and said, "What do you think this guy looks like?"
Come dressed as this person. Give me like 2 or 3 good names of wrestlers that could prompt a costume.
So the current space, here's kind of the only like downside is that there's only a few people where it's like there would be like a hint of like, well, here's like an idea for you because there's Hangman Adam Page is kind of one of the only ones, but a lot of them are like just kind of like just their names at this point. There's a few that like have some oomph to them, like Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns is a really good one. There's CM Punk might give something of an idea to somebody. I can also just go classic and just be like The Undertaker.
See,
like
that's
Kane, like you know, there's stuff like that like invokes a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, we'll workshop this. Tune into the pod next time to see if we actually do it.
If I was just,
or maybe a few weeks from now.
Because if I told somebody just like, hey, come dressed up, what do you think Bryan Danielson looks like? You're just gonna come up as like a dude.
That's not giving anything.
Nah, exactly. The whole sphere has changed.
All right, with all of that out of the way, it's time to get to what we are actually here to talk about today, and that is Hollow Knight. I am so excited to talk about this game. Now, before we get into the little description, Jordan, have you played any Hollow Knight at all?
Still have not had a chance to actually give this game a proper shot.
So Jordan didn't do his homework for the pod yet again, and I'm just kidding.
That's definitely what happened.
I'm giving you a hard time.
We didn't come up with the idea to do this on Monday.
a few days ago.
And a few days ago, and are just now recording it now. No, it was definitely the plan like months ago, and I was supposed to play the game. That's exactly what happened here.
Yep, that is. Thank you for admitting it. Thank you. Let's
How'd
move
you
on.
how'd you get a bus to run through your apartment?
I am kidding. So this is, I'm going to be the one mostly talking, but mostly this is a pitch to Jordan to try to get him to play Hollow Knight. So here we go. So if you don't know, Hollow Knight is set in the world of Hallownest, which was a once thriving kingdom that's now in ruins, plagued by this mysterious infection that's corrupted the insect inhabitants. And you take on the role of the Knight, which was a small, silent warrior who ventures into the depths of this world to uncover its secrets. And as you explore, you're going to piece together the tragic story of Hallownest, the role of the Pale King, who was once the ruler of Hallownest, and the origins of the infection. But you can't expect a straightforward narrative, because Hollow Knight thrives on subtle environmental storytelling, cryptic dialogue, and lore that rewards curious players who really dive into it. It's actually kind of difficult to piece the lore of the world all together. I would highly recommend watching a lore video for anyone that's interested, because it is deep and expansive, but that's one of the really rewarding things about this game. You literally feel like you are dumped in the middle of this existing world, and you no one is spoon feeding you well, long ago the Pale King came. That's not what's happening at all. You're just in the middle of it, which I love.
I've realized, especially for video games in a setting, I much more prefer getting a sense of the world and having the lore be something you can discover or figure out along the way, rather than what you were saying, just having this sweeping narrative where it's here's everything you need to know about the world, and I'm well, you told me everything, and now I don't want to. Now, what am I going to go explore now? What's the point here? I want to go discover these things. I don't want you to tell me these things.
Yeah, and there's a lot that can be missed if you're not one of those players that's deep exploring. But that also, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure in a way. It's you can just play through it and barrel through all the enemies and get to the end, and you did your job. Day's over. Or you can explore everything and pick up every little detail, read every little entry, every piece of dialogue, and really piece together the narrative of what happened to this world. Because you are dumped into the middle of it, but it's very evident very quickly that it's oh, this was once a thriving kingdom, and now I'm walking through the ruins of this once great civilization. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
It's very, very intriguing.
The closest association that I have to the setup and the way that you described it to me in the past and whatnot would be something like Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, so in terms of maybe even breaking it down gameplay style, tone, where are the similarities? Where are we splitting on that?
Sure.
Just for my understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's not a lot of text in Ori and the Blind Forest, if memory serves.
Yes.
But the gameplay is very similar. It's a Metroidvania.
Yes.
Just like Ori and the Blind Forest. So it's, you have a central hub that is kind of where you do most of your, it's the most visited place in the game. And then the map is open, quote unquote, in that you can kind of see everything, but maybe you don't have the power up that lets you get over, this gap or over this wall that's really tall or something like that, right? So there's self-imposed limitations to where that you can go that is requiring you to go down. Oh, okay, you can't go down here, so go down the open path, and at the end of the open path you're gonna get the double jump, and now you can climb over this wall, and then you can go explore that area, and so on, in a cascading sort of tier system of where you can go.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as Ori and the Blind Forest.
Gotcha.
In that regard.
Okay.
And there's platforming, there's puzzle solving, there's battles, more battling, definitely more battle focused than Ori and the Blind Forest.
Which would make sense. The title is Hollow Knights.
Right.
It would imply there's much more of a fight mechanic to it.
Right, absolutely. So you play as the Knight, who's a little bug guy. All insects in this world. Very
That was going to be my question. It's you start in the description as the overall plot of the game was the insect world is infected. So are you yourself also another insect in this world, or
Yes, asterisk.
Okay.
I don't want to give too much away if you do end up choosing to play, or if anybody listening at home chooses to pick up the game. I don't want to reveal too much about the knight's origin.
I see. Okay, got you.
Because that is part of the story that you will uncover through playing the game.
Okay, cool.
But he
cool.
presents as an inhabitant of the world. He doesn't look out of place.
Right, got you.
Just to speak to the game a little bit more, Hollow Knight, I love this. Hollow Knight is a completely indie game. It was developed by Team Cherry, a small indie studio based in Australia. The game was funded through a Kickstarter and completely backed and launched in 2017 to overwhelming acclaim, both critical and player acclaim.
I do vaguely remember hearing about this being like a Kickstarter funded game back in the day. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's cemented itself in the world of gaming. Like, it is a benchmark game, in my opinion.
I've heard about this game, even outside of, like, you talking about it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
If you're paying attention to gaming at all, you've at least heard of Hollow Knight, for sure.
Yeah, and there's so much that I could sit here and gush over, but the big things are, it's all hand-drawn. It's beautifully crafted. Like, it's a beautiful Ghibli-esque in a way, not completely in that direction, but Ghibli-esque. Definitely inspired by the works of like Ghibli.
Absolutely.
And then the gameplay itself is so fluid, so seamless, so nice. There is a bit of a learning curve, especially for battling, but it's not an insurmountable learning curve.
Yeah.
And then my favorite part, which is almost always my favorite part of any indie game, is that the soundtrack is just incredible. Just beautiful. Each area has its own theme. Each boss has their own theme, and they're all beautifully, masterfully crafted.
There was the first campaign I run as a DM. I didn't even realize that some of the music that I had chosen for it was Hollow Knight stuff.
Oh,
and
really?
I had no idea.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you happen to remember?
Couldn't tell you.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I completely understand. The music's so good, and it's all instrumental, and I could talk about just the soundtrack for a whole episode also. I won't. I will spare you all. But
have we done that episode yet? Just soundtracks that we love for games? That's got to go on the list.
Write that down.
That's got to be a thing we do at some point.
Yeah. But anyway, so Hollow Knight has totally cemented itself in the Metroidvania genre and all of gaming, and it sold millions of copies, which is crazy. Go snatch it up. It's like $15.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
So go snatch it up. Play it on any console. Doesn't matter. They're all amazing. But yeah, so what do... Past what I've discussed, do you know anything beyond that? About the story or about the gameplay? Anything at all?
No. Actually, I was trying to think because you've talked about it so much on just this show in particular.
Sure.
Of just bringing up in other conversations and whatnot. But I don't know if we've ever gotten to like the actual like meat and potatoes of like even the gameplay part of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then I will dive into that. So first and foremost, it's a Metroidvania, which, just as a refresher for anybody listening that needs it, Metroidvania is kind of like I was describing with Ori and the Blind Forest. You have sort of an area that you visit the most, and you can access just about everything else from there. You're just restricted based on what kind of power-ups or equipment that you have, based on the areas you've already explored, right? So for Hollow Knight, you are dumped in this first area, which is this town that's kind of an abandoned town, but there's like a couple of inhabitants still there. It's called Dirtmouth, and it gains you access to the first area, which is the deserted crossroads, which is directly underneath the city in the ground. Everything is... Well, not everything, but most of the area is subterranean, underneath the Earth's surface in this game. So you go to Dirtmouth, you meet a couple of characters, you go into the crossroads, and that's like the first main area. There's a couple of bosses that you have to defeat in there, and you get a couple of power-ups. From there, you get like the fireball type spell, and that allows you to defeat an enemy that was blocking the entrance to the next area. So you go to Green Path. In Green Path, you fight another boss, you get another power-up, so on and so on, right? And places start opening up. What I like is that kind of other Metroidvanias might do this too. It just kind of depends. There's sometimes a very like linear, like, oh, you have to go here to get this power up, then you have to go here to get this power up, and so on and so on. And so it ends up being linear in a way.
Yeah.
With Hollow Knight, it's more like, okay, you start here, you have to go here, then you have to go here, and then it kind of opens up, and you can kind of go explore at your own pace other areas.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
Not everything opens up all at the same time, but it's like, oh, you could go here and get this power up, or you could go here and get this power up, or go here and get this spell, and so on and so on, to some degree. Or you can, find the guy that will upgrade your weapon, and then you're super powerful. Now you can take on that boss that maybe you couldn't defeat before, So there's a little bit of play there. It's not completely open, like I said, but it's a choose your own adventure at that point.
Well, I like that too, because I personally like the feel of like the idea of that. It's like, objectively speaking, there is like a more like, I'm trying to think of the word, a more optimal pathing you could take.
Yeah.
That would be like, well, if you want to like have like an easier time in here, you should go here and get this, and then go over here, which will let you go here and go here and go here. But also like the whole thing where it's just like, stumble into an area, have a really hard time with it, end up in the next area and go like, oh, if I had that when I went there, that would have made things a lot nicer. But that makes a much more like real like adventure feel to me.
Definitely.
That it's like you're not always gonna know like how to get like the most optimal thing to go handle something.
Definitely.
But that also to me lives into replay value as well.
Totally.
Because then it's like like, okay, next time I play, I want to go here to get this, and then go back over here, and the next time you'll be like, haha, now I got this.
Yeah, definitely playing it a second time feels way better than the first time, unless you're following a guide or something, of course. But in particular, the guide that upgrades your weapon, which is called a nail, your nail. He's accessible once you get to like the main city that's underneath the old city. It's called the City of Tears. The main city, once you get there, you can go access the guy that upgrades your nail. So now when I'm playing, I'm like, okay, I'm going here, and then I'm going to the city because I'm upgrading that nail, because I don't want to fight this boss, that boss, without at least upgrading it a first time.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, definitely pathing gets more optimal the more you play. But the first time you play, it can be anything you want, which is awesome. Yeah. There's also different ways to access the same areas. There's like multiple entrances that will lead to the same areas. So, like for example, there's one very, very deep, like kind of later game area called Deep Nest.
Ooh, okay.
Which is the creepiest, crawliest, most horrific place because everything is bugs.
Yes.
This is like the spider area. So it's all webs and all little creepy crawlies that come at you. There's enemies in this area in particular that actually spawn like from the foreground. So instead of being on the screen, they like from the screen to the character. Completely unnerving. But
I love it when games do that shit. It's so cool to see something that's like essentially, despite the graphic wise, is basically like a 2D like side scroller like setup for it. But then stuff will be happening in the different dimensions on this. So cool. It's so fun. I love that so much.
Yeah. I also love it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple ways that you can get there, and one way is like kind of by falling through the there's like a fungal core in there. You can fall through the fungal core and get to Deep Nest, or you can go through the Mantis Village, which is a village of like praying mantis-like creatures. More on that later. Okay. And if you defeat the Mantis Lords, which is this incredible boss fight in the middle of the game, they will pay you respect, and then they will open the way, and you can get into Deep Nest through like their entrance to Deep Nest.
That was gonna be my question, because I feel like one of the big things of any like Metroidvania as game is gonna come down to the boss fights. So like talking intricate, like different styles of having to play, like what are we looking at here in terms of...
Each boss is very unique. Okay, which is really cool. Yeah. And so over the game, you pick up like spells, and some of them are damaging. Well, actually, all of them are damaging spells, come to think of it. But then you always have your nail with you, and you can pick up what are called nail arts, which are like cool thing. Like there's like a whirlwind spin attack that you can do, for example, or like a big, great dashing slash. Anyways. Okay. So you can kind of choose your play style, and you can defeat any enemy kind of however you want, at that point. Yeah. There's also things that you pick up through the game called charms that help you boost certain things or kind of help you like min-max your character in a way. So there's like charms that are like your nail is longer so you have better range.
Right.
Or you swing your nail faster.
Yeah.
Things like that. Your dash is longer. There's also like defensive ones. So it's like there's one that's like, oh, if you get hit, then these like tentacles sprout out and like hit the things next to you. Or when you're trying to heal yourself, a shield appeared. You know, so there's like customization in that regard too.
I feel like the Ori series on their second one, which is Will of the Wisps, they probably took notes from that. Because there's a lot of that feel to it too, where it's like, because you get more stuff in the second Ori, so it's just like, do you want your bow to be longer or shoot multiple arrows? Do you want your slash to be longer or do more damage? Like it's very all much. Like, so very much like sort of, yeah.
Very much that. So going back to the bosses, each boss fight is memorable and unique, and all of them are very different and fit into the lore of the game. It's beautiful. So like I talked about the Mantis Lords. The Mantis Lords are at the end of the Mantis Village. They're 3 sisters, and they like stand up to fight you when they enter. They like bow to you, and then the first one starts attacking you, and you defeat it, whatever, you know. And then when it goes and sits back on its throne, the other 2 get up, and then they both start fighting you.
Oh,
incredible! The first time it happened, I was like, "This is the coolest boss fight."
That's so good because like the gameplay of that too has to be super fun, but also just like that gives such a specific feel to that boss fight and those like characters in the game in general.
Yeah,
without having to like. Again, like we talked before, not having to overload you with like dialogue or like do a huge lore dump right there about like who these 2 are and whatnot. Nope. You just get the vibe for them and then you go. I love that. That's great.
Absolutely. And what's cool about that one in particular is after you defeat the Mantis Lords, they don't die. You just like defeat them in like mortal combat. It's a very like, it's almost a ritualistic type thing.
Yes.
You defeat them in combat and then they like bow to you. And every time you enter their room from then on, they like bow. And then all of the Mantis enemies from the village also bow to you and don't fight you anymore after that point.
I love
so cool.
that shit. That's world building, baby. Yeah. Let's go. That's awesome.
And then later on, not to reveal too much lore, later on, you go to this other area called the Queen's Garden, which has more enemies that have been taken over by the infection, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay.
But the boss in that area is the Mantis Traitor. And if you follow the lore, you find out that he was the brother of the 3 Mantis Lords, and he thought that the insects of Hallownest should take the infection in because it makes them stronger. It also drives them crazy and they lose their will.
Right.
You know, whatever. But it makes them stronger. So he is like riddled with the infection when you fight him.
Got you.
But he is related to the Mantis Lords that you fight. It's very, so good.
Love a good like indoctrination plot in something too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, I've lost like my free will, but I can do all this other shit now. So like, who needs free will when you can do cool stuff? Why? What does it matter?
So this comes since we're talking about the lore, I'll expound a little bit. So back in the old days of Hallownest, before the Pale King arrived, there was a godlike entity called the Radiance. And the Radiance was like this being of light, and it created the Moth tribe.
Okay.
Who's like characters that are referenced in the game. In the game, there's only 1 moth left, but, you know.
Okay.
Anyways.
Gotcha.
So the Pale King arrives, and the Pale King was a worm, like WURM, like long, like burrowing type creature.
Yes.
That actually, if you like go to where he is, you can kind of see the tunnels that were actually burrowed out, and it's like a whole area that he created. Anyways, he passed, and then it's sort of implied that he was reincarnated as the Pale King, who was a smaller insectoid creature who started like ruling Hallownest and brought the insects underneath his influence instead of the Radiance. Because under the Radiance, the idea is like, we are insects, we are hive mind, we are all one sort of thing. And the Pale King was like, no free will, like let's have like our own thoughts, feelings, blah 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 blah, whatever. So the Radiance didn't like that, and then was like beefing with the Pale King, and the whole idea was the Pale King was like, we need to figure out a way to defeat the Radiance, and the only way to do that is to create a perfectly hollow vessel that couldn't be taken over by the Radiance's influence, so that they could take the Radiance in and then seal it away. And that is the Hollow Knight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and I'm not going to get too much into the details, but essentially the Pale King created a being called the Hollow Knight to go and seal the radiance within themselves, and then further get sealed in this temple called the Temple of the Black Egg. It gets all sealed up, and it's behind this like magical seal that's put in place by what are called the Three Dreamers, who are characters that you have to go fight later. Anyways, because from within the radiance, from within the Hollow Knight, is the radiance, and that's where the infection comes from. So the infection is seeping out of, and it's an influence from the radiance. Yeah. This like ancient old god. And so at a certain point in the game, the first area, like I said, that you get to is called the Deserted Crossroads. And throughout the game, you start meeting more and more different enemies that aren't just like bugs. They have this like orange stuff that's like coming out of them, and you learn that that's the infection. Okay. You're like, oh, okay, so any orange stuff I see is like the infection. You get way, way, way deep into the game. You fight this being called the Broken Vessel, who kind of looks like you, and you're like, that's weird, but he's riddled with infection. So you fight him, whatever. You go on, and what happens is the Deserted Crossroads become the Infected Crossroads, and the infection spreads throughout this area that you are intimately familiar with. Okay. It's complete 180. There's infection everywhere, and it hurts your character, if you like touching and stuff. Yeah. And then the bugs that were in that area are now infected with it and are like explosive when you kill them. It's a whole thing, but it like flips 180, this area you were intimately familiar with and go to often, and that's where the Temple of the Black Egg is, and that's kind of where the infection is spreading out from.
It's such a smart thing for me whenever games do something like that, where it's like, here's like you said, here's an environment you're intimately familiar with, and we're just gonna make some changes to it. Because one, I imagine for just like as a game developer, you're like, this is perfect. It's not that like it's no work, but it's like it saves you work from like having to do a whole new like level design. Yeah, it's just like redesigning a level you already have set up, as opposed to coming up with something else entirely. But then it also creates such an experience for the player as well. Yeah, of like, I know this space. This isn't what this is supposed to look like. It just like it creates that real feeling of like distress,
this
of
is
like
wrong. Yeah,
this is so wrong. Why is this like this? It shouldn't be like this. No, I love it.
Yeah, it's incredible. And when it happened in the game, I was like, no. I was like, ah. It's kind of how we talked about like in the Outlast episode. It's like you feel like you're the character, and then you feel like these things are happening to you.
It would be like coming home and finding that someone just redecorated your house. Kind of. You're just like, what the fuck? Why? Why did you do this?
And the decorations can kill you.
Yeah, they can murder you if you touch them wrong. Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of more about the story. Because the whole thing that you're doing throughout the game is you realize you need to get into the Temple of the Black Egg and stop whatever is making the infection spread. So that's your goal, is to break the seal of the Three Dreamers and then get in there and ultimately fight the Hollow Knight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because
because he is also now overrun with infection.
Right. Yeah. Oh, so that's okay. So it's you yourself are not the Hollow Knight.
You are not the Hollow Knight. No.
That's so.
I know. I thought that too when I first picked up the game. I was like, oh, I'm the Hollow Knight. I am the Hollow Knight. But then you start learning the lore of the game and like uncovering things, and you realize, oh no, the Hollow Knight is sealed in the Temple of the Black Egg.
It's sort of like the flip of like what everybody does with like Frankenstein. Where it's like they associate the name Frankenstein with the monster of the story, but it's like
that's actually Frankenstein's monster.
That's Frankenstein. Well, but I mean, like in real way, it's like no, the story of Frankenstein is about Victor Frankenstein, who creates a monster. That's what the story really is. Yeah. Whereas like this is the story of discovering who the Hollow Knight is and assuming it's you the whole time. That's such good storytelling. That's such clever, good storytelling.
Jordan, you gotta play this game.
I need to play this game. I really need to play this game. I like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I like how not 10 minutes ago you were like, I don't want to give away too much. And I feel like you really dumped a really big.
I kind of haven't.
Gotcha.
But no, it's so good.
I'm also personally of the opinion of that it's like in any story, video game, movie, book, TV show, whatever, if somebody like spoils a big twist for you and now that thing is not good, it wasn't good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if a twist gets ruined for you,
Yeah.
and now it's like, well, now this thing sucks. It wasn't that good to begin with.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Shouldn't rely on just like that punch
The
of the
one twist,
Yeah.
to be good.
Yeah.
No, the whole thing is good.
Good.
So let's talk about some of the mechanics in the game. So, like,
Yes.
obviously there's platforming. It's a Metroidvania, so you have your standard set of, like, jump, double jump, dash, attack. You know, like, that's
Yeah.
your standard, you know. So there are definitely sections in the game that test that. Like, there's a mine area, and there's, like, these crushers, so you have to, like, dash in
Yeah.
between them, and you're on conveyor belts, so you're, like, moving backwards at the same time. Very cool.
I was gonna say, like, it's like I've realized recently, there's like, especially with playing through some of the games that I have recently, is that I've actually played a ton of platformers. I've realized recently I've played a lot of them. So, but and I've realized like there's a very difficult balance with platformers where it's like challenging and like, you know, giving a player a challenge where it's like, how do I make this timing happen or make these jumps happen and blah blah blah. But then crossing over into like, I'm just angry and I want to stop. Like, what's the balance here for Hollow Knight in terms of like working with something like that?
Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So there are definitely points where it's challenging,
100%.
but it's not challenging in a way that you go, how can anybody do this?
Yes.
It's challenging in a way that you can see what you're supposed to do, and you're like, okay, I know I can do this. If I time it right, I will be fine. I will get through this. So I would never say it's like discouragingly challenging.
That's really what I was getting at.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like what's that threshold for this
Yeah.
one of like really being able to be like, okay, I see the forest through the trees. I just need to figure out my pathing
Yes.
for it, basically, or get the timing down and whatnot.
Yes.
And it's
There is an asterisk to this.
Okay.
There's one point in the game at the very near the end that you sort of enter the dream of the Pale King, and it's definitely the most challenging platforming area of the game. But again, not so challenging that you're like, oh, I can't see what I'm supposed to do, or I'll never get this, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but you can get through it. You might die a lot, but like you're gonna get through it.
Yeah.
Within that is an optional area
Oh yeah.
that you do not have to do to beat the game at all, for any of the endings, because
Yes.
there's multiple endings. You don't have to do it at all. But it is hands down maybe the most challenging platforming section of any game I've ever seen. It's very challenging.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's called this in world, but in real life, the community adoringly calls it the Path of Pain. And it's just nonstop spikes and buzzsaws and
I mean, here's the thing. At a certain point, I'm not saying the developers have to, but you might as well go and change the code for the title or whatever that is really called. Because once the community decides this is what this thing is, it's what the thing is fucking called.
Yeah. It's challenging because it builds on a mechanic that is in the game.
Yeah.
That I think you do sort of utilize somewhat, but it's like taken to a new level in this
Yeah.
area. Within the game, you can, when you're in the air, you can swing downwards with your nail, and if you hit something, you will rise back up. It's called a pogo.
Okay,
So you
got
can
you.
do that with enemies. You can also do that with traps, like
Right.
spikes and
Yeah.
buzzsaws and things. So the Path of Pain relies a lot on like jump, down slash on the spikes, jump again, down slash on the spikes, jump again, down slash on the spikes. You get the idea.
This sounds like one of those insane Mario Maker levels that you see people.
It's
go through.
very that.
Yeah.
It's very that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, that's platforming. That is a big mechanic of the game. Like
Love it.
it will challenge your platforming skills. The battle mechanics are also challenging but awesome. Like I
Okay.
said, you can upgrade your nail and you can use spells. So like that can help beef you out if you're like I don't want to do melee, I don't want to get in close, you know, I don't want to like have to fight with my nail a whole lot. You can totally go a spell build, like a mage build, and you'll be good. You'll be golden because the spells are really powerful.
Okay, gotcha.
A lot of them you can get like multiple hits on one cast, so that's nice. But if you are going in and fighting with your nail, it's challenging but still doable. And there's definitely optional battles that you don't have to do if you don't want to. There's a whole area, it's called the Colosseum of Fools, and there's 3 tiers of difficulty, and it's basically a gauntlet of just fighting challenges, and you get swag for it. Obviously, you get rewarded.
I hope so.
But it is totally optional, completely optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to.
That to me is more where I prefer like the difficulty challenge kind of like layover to happen for me, because like we talk about all the time, just like I'm a fucking casual gamer for the most part.
Yeah,
I like a challenge here and there, but those really difficult platforming sections, I like it more when those are like optional sides of things, to where it's like, oh yeah, if you're the gamer who enjoys this kind of thing, go for it. Otherwise, this isn't like a necessary step overall on everything.
I like even like that platforming thing I was talking about, the Path of Pain. I did not do it. I did not. I like tried it a couple times and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna secure my sanity today.
I'll always like try them at least once to be like, maybe I can't do this. Nope.
I did beat the Coliseum of Fools, and I was very proud about that.
There you go.
Because that was difficult.
Right.
Because it's a gauntlet, and in the game you don't have a lot of like healing options. It's actually frustrating. It's kind of Dark Soulsy. But like in the game, you have masks of hit points, so you have like I think you get up to like 9 or 10, something like that. But it's just like you get hit and you lose a mask, So it's like, I've got 10 hits.
Yeah.
You get later in the game, some enemies do 2 masks of damage. So
that is a very like overall Metroidvania like kind of like thing.
But to heal, there's no like, oh, drink a potion, go back to full health. You have to use a resource called soul to heal yourself, and it takes time. So you have to sit still and not get hit by anything, and you like heal 1 mask every like 3 full seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
So in that gauntlet type setting where you're maybe using, because soul is also your resource for spells. So there's
I love and hate when it's like it's one resource for multiple things. I'm like, yes, this makes it simpler for like my inventory basically, but it's also like, don't make me choose.
You can upgrade your health and your soul limit
for sure
over the course of the game by finding collectibles, which is kind of one of the rewarding things. It's like if you inspect everything and you go and you find there's a lot of hidden walls, like, or breakable walls. If you go in and you find all of that stuff, you get very well rewarded in this game. You get rewarded either by like getting an item or an upgrade or finding some lore or like multiples of those things.
Love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of Hollow Knight in a succinct, not so succinct nutshell.
I think pretty succinct, honestly.
Thank you.
Jumped on a little bit, but that's our vibe normally.
I fucking love this game, and I'm very excited for the sequel that is confirmed. You may have heard it's called Silk Song.
I've heard the name Silk Song. A lot.
Yes. We don't have an official release date for it yet, but it's coming. They're working on it, and as always, our opinion on the pod: if you need more time, take it. Please. Take your time.
Especially for like overall for everybody, especially for like smaller indie developer companies. Like 100%. This is what it sounds like. So I'm just like, please take your time.
Yeah.
Just like put out a good game. And plus, I still need time to play Hollow Knight. So
there you go.
Want to get it done before the sequel comes out.
There you go.
Works for me.
Silk Song is from the point of view of one of the sort of antagonists in the game. It's led by this character called Hornet, who you find out that it may be related to the Knight in the main game. That's awesome. And she's like the second or third, depending on how you play, second or third enemy in the game. Actually, second or third boss battle.
Really?
Yes.
That's way interesting.
Yeah. You kind of find out, this isn't too spoilery, but you fight Hornet twice.
Yeah.
In Hollow Knight. She's a boss 2 times. And you kind of find out that it's more like she is testing you.
Yeah.
To like find out like, oh, can you do this? Could you be the one to save Hallow Nest, And so so Silk Song is going to be from Hornet's perspective. You're going to play as Hornet.
I love that though, because like I always like when people take like that character who's like, well, this is kind of like my only goal that I have as a character in this thing. Now what happens once I've done that, what do I do? And then being able to follow that through on a storyline is super interesting.
I think that would be really cool. I don't know if it's that way or if it's the pre. I don't know if it's the pre.
What happened before? Gotcha.
Either way, Hornet also fights with a needle and thread, which is just so cool. It's so awesome.
I love it.
Hornet's awesome. I love Hornet.
When I heard like that.
when I heard we were getting a Hornet game, I was like over the moon. But anyway, so that's Hollow Knight. Do you think you would? You think you'll play it?
Oh, goal accomplished. I'm gonna pick up this game.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm gonna play this game.
Victory.
100%.
Woo, woo, woo.
Sorry, Baldur's Gate.
All right, now that that's out of the way, we have reached the bonus round. We are going to be reading a Reddit story together. So, Jordan, you want to dive into this Reddit story?
Yes, I do. So, the one we're reading today is titled, Am I the Asshole for Telling My Friend His Girl is Unattractive Indirectly? I want to go ahead and note at the top of this thing that somehow the verdict on this at the top is not the asshole.
Oh, okay.
And I'm so fascinated to figure out how we got there.
Maybe the OP is being harsh on themselves.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Okay. So, about a month ago, I, 32-year-old male, had my middle school friend Mike, 32-year-old male, and his girlfriend Jessica, 30-year-old female, over for a canceled D&D game. I showed them a comedy YouTube channel I followed for years. Last week, Mike and Jessica became huge fans of the channel and even got others in our group to watch it. During our weekly D&D meetup, our DM, 28 male, asked which girl cast member we date. Most picked a blonde cast member, including Jessica, who said she's hot. When it was my turn, I chose a brunette cast member I thought would make a good girlfriend. Mike, assuming I picked the blonde because she apparently is just the obvious answer, started pressing me for reasons. I mentioned that I don't find blonde-haired women attractive. To be clear, it's not the only reason the list included I preferred... Wait, hold on. To be clear, it's not the only reason the list included I preferred the on-screen personality. Oh, sorry. Let me do that one more time. It's a run-on... It's a run-on sentence and there was no punctuation.
Yeah, you're
good. To be clear, it's not the only reason the list included I preferred the on-screen personality of the brunettes. She seemed loving, caring, and passionate, and matching my own sense of humor. The main point for me, though, was the blonde girl was recently married, and I feel weird crushing on celebrities I know are in a committed relationship.
I just need to stop and say, like, this is definitely Smosh.
This is 100%
like
100%.
Oh,
we know
Smosh.
who they're talking about. 1,000%.
I felt it at the beginning.
Yeah.
A comedy YouTube group that I've watched
I was
for
like,
years.
this could be Smosh.
No, as soon as you said, "Oh, the blonde cast member was just married,"
and also the blonde that like everyone just agrees is like attractive, like,
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. So this is definitely didn't know that this is going to be Smosh.
It's so funny
at the top of this.
It's so funny.
Also, let's just say that it's weird a little bit that you would sit around and go, "Who would you date on this cast? Who would you date? Who's hot?" I think that's a little juvenile.
I think I was gonna say, especially considering like the age of some of these people.
Yeah.
Like this, like for me, I'd be forgiving of this with like people like their early 20s.
Yeah.
But this feels like a weird thing for maybe that's a little bit ageist, I guess. But like it feels like an odd thing for people like their 30s to be like discussing.
I think it's odd at any age. But
it's odd in general. I mean, like there's I definitely when I was like 19 to 20-ish had conversations like these. Unfortunately, I don't feel good about it anymore. But like I definitely had these conversations.
I agree. But anyways, let's carry on. Let's see.
Yeah. So just because this kind of runs together. The main point for me though was the blonde girl was recently married, and I feel weird crushing on celebrities I know are in a committed relationship, having once been married myself. People have also been married before. Good. That night, Mike texted me saying I hurt Jessica's feelings because I called her unattractive. I told him Jessica is pretty and I'm sorry I hurt her feelings, but of course I'm not attracted to her. She's his girlfriend. The blonde hair is just a personal preference I have. Went to sleep, woke up to a message from Mike, the D&D group, and mutual friends. Mike had messaged everyone claiming I called Jessica ugly because she's blonde, which was not what I said. I called Mike to clarify, explaining that not finding a YouTuber attractive didn't mean I think Jessica is ugly. A person can be pretty and you not be attracted to them. Mike then asked if I found Jessica attractive, and I replied, why does that matter? She's your girlfriend. I'm not supposed to be. I've always been kind to her and treated her with respect, even joined in on the jokes the group would say about how she is out of his league. The last week has been high school all over again, texting people to clarify what was said. Rumor spreading, speculation, he said, she said. We are all grown adults. What the hell? I tried getting Jessica's number to talk talk with her directly and apologize for misunderstanding, but all communication has been through Mike or a third party. Who's the other person who needs to be involved in this conversation like this?
Mediator.
What the hell?
Their lawyer.
Apparently. Last night, no one showed up for D&D at my place like we have for 3 years. One of the guys texted me they went to Mike's place instead. This week, Mike was informing everyone, both he and Jess were out of the group if I was still there, as well as Jess saying things about I'm just jealous because Mike got a hot girlfriend while I was alone with my hand and picture of the girl he dated in high school. I personally don't believe that was said by her, as she's never been a mean-spirited person. The whole group knows that girl was my wife, who, along with her 4-year-old child, died in 2020.
Okay.
The D&D game was set up originally to help me with depression and cope with the grief. Whole thing is just so stupid, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Okay, remember when I was like, how is he going to turn out not to be the asshole?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So, okay. So, did he start the dialogue about who would you date in the cat, or was that somebody else that like
I think
started?
if I remember right, it was pretty vague in terms of
Okay.
like,
Okay.
Yeah, last week Mike and Jessica was going to use their YouTube channel, during which D&D meetup. Oh, the DM was the one who asked like,
Okay, that also makes sense that he didn't start.
That ending actually made me like physically warm. That like genuinely like got like wow.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's awful.
But it's funny that the story goes on and then the OP says it's like high school all over again. There's like rumors, there's like he said, she said, like blah, blah, blah. It makes sense because it was a very juvenile high school conversation that they were having.
It really was a crazy like juvenile conversation.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, like I'm not saying he was the most adult, but in the conversation, he was kind of more adult than everybody else was.
It seems
at least from
way.
presentation here. You know what I mean?
It's a really strong reaction for the rest of the group to go, oh, so-and-so called somebody ugly.
Yeah.
And now we're like cutting them out. Like obviously there was like more kind of in between, but it makes me wonder if OP maybe like has been weird in the past or has like said things that are unsavory. Like I wonder if we have a bit of an unreliable narrator. I hope not.
I mean, there's also that option.
I hope not. But
my personal take is that I, for the most part, do believe OP.
Especially with that ending.
Especially with the ending.
Yeah.
But I also think, too, that it's like, I don't think any of this is coming from the girlfriend. I think this is all the boyfriend, Mike.
Yeah, probably.
I really think he got really insecure about the whole thing.
Yeah.
About his buddy, who he like probably puts a lot of stock into
what he says.
And was just like, blondes just aren't really my thing. And then he's just like, well, does that mean like he's freaking out for no reason, thinking like that's an implication on him about this woman he's chosen to date and whatnot. And it's just like I truly think that throughout this whole thing, Jessica is just living her fucking life. Heard that whole conversation happen where this other dude that she's not dating was like, yeah, blondes aren't really my thing, and it was just like, oh, okay, and moved on with her fucking date. And Mike just like turned into a fucking goblin about it. It's like, at least that's my read on it personally. I mean, I think ultimately where we're at is that, hey, this conversation shouldn't have happened to begin with.
Definitely not.
It just really shouldn't have happened to begin with.
Not have happened at all. It's so weird to me.
It's a very bizarre fucking like. Yeah, the whole thing is just like, one, didn't need to be talking about this to begin with. But yeah.
Do we have some comments?
Yeah, we do have some comments here. And again, verdict was not the asshole.
Right.
And now ultimately I do actually agree with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Very much so.
For sure. Because in fact, that guy did not call the girlfriend ugly.
Not even inadvertently
close.
Like the title suggested. It wasn't even close to being like it. Like I've like if it's just like a comparison that I think you've probably gotten just because of like your overall look with the glasses and everything like that. It's probably been like something like associated with like a Daniel Radcliffe or something kind of like similar.
I've never been compared to Daniel Radcliffe.
That's the vibe I get
life.
personally.
No,
That's the vibe.
no,
I was gonna say.
Of course I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Right.
It's like really wild. But if somebody was like, I really don't find Daniel Radcliffe to be that attractive, you wouldn't take that as like an attack against you.
No. Unless that exact person in the past had said, you look exactly like Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, and they were like, I think he's a fucking uggo. Then that would be like...
Yeah. Then I would be like, well, that's
hurtful.
Weird that you said those two sentences in that order.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this guy didn't even
do that. He was just like, no, just that's just not like what I'm personally into.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So
how was this related to video games? Oh, it was a D&D.
It was a D&D group.
Right.
It was a D&D thing. D&D was a tie into this. How was this related to video games?
I got there.
Here's how it's related. It's a bunch of very insecure people talking about stuff they don't need to be talking about.
Right.
That's
carry
what it is.
on.
All right. So a couple comments that we've got here. I find myself wondering if Jessica is even bothered by this at all. My first thought is that your friend wrapped his ego up in having bagged the hottest girlfriend or something like that, with all the guys being jealous of him. You not being attracted to his girlfriend equals no jealousy, equals you potentially thinking that you could do better than him in a competition you didn't know you were all having. It's possible that he was already jealous of you in other ways, and up until now, this was the only thing he had over you. I kind of think that might... I agree with some of that, yeah.
The BBEG was toxic masculinity all along.
Fucking... Truly. And if that is the case, I mean, like, I do agree, but it's putting a lot of read on somebody that we don't know personally.
True.
But it's just like, be with the person because you want to be with the person, not because it's like granting some social status to you.
Yeah.
Which again leads to what we talked about before, is like this feels like a not everybody's in like their early to mid 30s conversation to me. You know what I mean? Like, this is wild.
There's some emotional growth that needs to happen with this group.
There's some Arrested Development here.
We just totally spiked the microphone.
So sorry.
Read the comment. It's great.
Because it was what we talked about a second ago. I'd be like, this is definitely about Smosh. One of the comments, I'm partial to Damien personally, not the asshole.
Yeah.
Which is like, also like, same girl. I get you.
Oh, Damien, Sweet Cinnamon Roll.
Sweet Cinnamon Roll. I think he's a good looking dude as well, personally. But yeah, we're doing the thing we said was toxic. What am I doing? Anyway,
you did? I did not participate.
I did it. But yeah, ultimately, I agree. Not the asshole, but also, hey, you don't need to be having that conversation in the first place, private or otherwise.
Yeah, true. And maybe if that is the social dynamic of your friend group, maybe consider getting a different friend group.
Yeah, if they're gonna be willing to like just ghost you like that over something like that.
Yeah.
You need new people, no matter what, friend. Just get away from those people. That's toxic as hell. Like I said,
seems that way.
Conversation didn't need to happen in the first place, but find yourself some new people.
Yeah. Find yourself fellow 30-somethings that all they talk about is just D&D.
Yeah, and when we talk about Smosh, it's not like that.
No. It's like, oh, that was a funny video. That was really funny. They're so comedic. They're wonderful. All right, well, we have reached the end of the bonus round, and we have therefore reached the end of the episode. So we're going to wrap this puppy up. Thank you so much for listening. Do you love Hollow Knight like I do? Are there any details that I left out? Like, what's your favorite part? What's your favorite character? We want to know. Let us know down in the comments below.
Also, if you have any ideas for future discussions on the show, please send us an email at 3vopodcastteam@gmail.com and give us your idea. You can find us on all the different socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the different stuff.
Facebook.
Yeah, all of it's gross. All of it's gross. Well, but sadly,
this is
how we have to survive with this show. But also, please make sure to comment, like, subscribe to our show. Really makes a difference, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.